Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and today I want to talk about Flight of the Navigator, 1986. This is a movie I remember watching as a little kid, and I remember how much I absolutely loved it, and I still think a lot of parts of this movie are great, even today. However, there are a lot of flaws in this movie, and this I think is an example of a movie with a very good idea that was not executed as well as it can. At least nowadays I think it can be greatly improved, and so I actually wouldn't mind if they remade this movie today if they do it properly, and I'm going to get to it. I think a lot of stuff in the movie is great as it is, however there are a lot of things that can be and should be improved, so it can become even better, so why not? And unlike many other movies from back in the 80s and 90s, which are still perfect even till this day, there are a lot of movies I would say you should never remake because they are perfect. You cannot possibly make it better than it was. You can only ruin it, and so a lot of movies I would say never touch them, never remake them, only make maybe a sequel, maybe a movie set in the same universe and all of that, but don't destroy the original, don't rewrite it. However, in this case, there are a lot of big flaws in the movie which I wouldn't mind changing, or I think the movie can be improved if we simply do like a fan edit of it. There are a lot of things that can be cut out of the movie completely and it wouldn't change anything. It would just make it a better pace and all of that. It would obviously make it shorter. The main problem is that the first half of the movie is kind of boring with not a lot of interesting stuff happening. The only interesting part of it was the whole time travel element of the kid basically arriving a few years in the future, and his little brother is now his big brother, and all of that was very fun and interesting. But aside of that, the whole part of him being locked up for study, and Jessica Parker visits him and comes onto him and all kinds of stuff like that, which is totally pointless and not that interesting. The movie really starts to shine somewhere in the middle of the movie when the kid actually gets to that spaceship and he starts to fly it around. All of that is the good part of the movie, and that's basically what I loved in it. That's where the movie really starts. The first half of the movie you can basically totally remove and just start it from the middle, and then it will be a perfect movie, even though it will be very short this way, but that's where the movie was fun. It's basically a wish fulfillment movie. Like when you were a kid, wouldn't you want to suddenly find your own spaceship and to fly it around and all of that and make friends with aliens and robots and have your own spaceship to fly around and do all these crazy stunts? And that's really fun. Even today watching it, even though a lot of the special effects didn't age well, a lot of them still look good. Like the whole part of the spaceship itself, the design of the spaceship, the way it kind of shape shifts like the T-1000, and it can create those floating steps in the air. All of that stuff is brilliant and still looks good. Some of it was done, I guess, with practical effects, so it still looks great. Some of it was kind of early CGI. This was even before Terminator 2 and all of that, but still the idea of it is really fun. And the whole visual from inside the ship, when he actually pilots the ship and flies it in huge speeds around the planet, and he stops at funny places, all of that stuff is still great till this day. And the whole idea of the ship itself kind of being alive and sentient, and it has that robot inside of it, an alien robot that kind of befriends the kid. That's an element I love in a lot of science fiction movies, of some kind of artificial intelligence or an alien befriending some kid and them becoming friends, and all of that is really great. And in this movie, it was great in the beginning when the robot was actually robotic and, understanding things literally and misunderstanding things. All that kind of comedy is something I always liked. However, they kind of gave up on it too quickly, and they had kind of a mind meld between the kid and the robot, and suddenly the robot is behaving like a kid himself. He's being silly, he's doing silly stuff, talking like a kid, doing all of that. It was comedic, but it was kind of too silly for me nowadays as an adult. Probably as a kid I loved all those parts, but nowadays some of it felt a little bit annoying. Like the kid himself was annoying in some places, and the robot became annoying when he became like the kid, and both of them were annoying together. And I still like a lot of those scenes, the whole thing with this spaceship basically being like a flying zoo. It has, it's collecting specimens from the entire galaxy and stuff like that, and we have a few shots of interesting aliens. And so as a science fiction movie, this was really good, I think. And the whole wish fulfillment part of it about the kid who suddenly now has his own spaceship that he can fly around and navigate, that stuff was brilliant. I guess the thing early in the movie was also kind of a kid's wish fulfillment, the whole thing with Jessica Parker coming onto him. I guess it's kind of a teenage fantasy as well, that you're locked somewhere and some young woman is visiting you and making friends with you, and I guess all that part was also fun for teenagers maybe. And The whole idea of his little brother now becoming his big brother, that was fun. That's also an interesting science fiction idea. The only problem with all of that is that it doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of the movie. Like, it's just there just because it's an interesting idea, but it's not really part of the story. I guess it's kind of like about a kid who got lost, like he's now trying to get back home to his own time and to have his old life back and all of that. But the way all of these different plot points connect doesn't really feel that natural. It's not really a story, it's just some strange circumstances of this kid who got trapped at some other time, and the movie never really explains it properly, like why it happened like that. Like, I guess the alien ship tried to take him away and then brought him back, and then because of relativism he got in the wrong time frame or whatever. The movie kind of played out differently than how I remembered it. I think I misunderstood a lot of parts in the movie. When I watched it as a kid, I didn't yet know English well, and I couldn't read subtitles well, so I remember I understood most of it, but a lot of parts of the movie I kind of filled in my head myself. So I remember thinking that the whole time travel thing happened. I think I knew about, relativism and all of that already. I think I probably read it somewhere or saw it in other movies, so I thought it's because the ship was flying too fast, like in the end of the movie he flew so fast around the planet that he went back in time or something. So it's not exactly the way it was explained in the movie. So I think a lot of that stuff can actually be improved. A lot of that stuff can be done better as a science fiction and just using real science to do all that kind of crazy stuff. So this is part of why I think this movie actually should be remade, because a lot of things in this movie can be improved. The whole plot, the whole family element, they can do more stuff with the other characters than they did. The whole security around the spaceship was so silly, it made me laugh, kind of unintentional comedy, like the worst security guards ever. They're basically guarding a real life UFO that they found, the most amazing discovery in human history, and they're playing cards, they're not really paying attention, the kid can sneak around and go in the spaceship, and so all of that stuff kind of made it almost unintentional comedy. Like, I think a lot of those things can be improved today in a modern movie. They can be done much better executed. Obviously, special effects can be done much better. They can show a lot of cool shots of flying around the whole planet in a more fun way than this movie did. And this movie did had a lot of nice shots, a lot of nice scenes, but they can do so much more with it nowadays. So why not? If it has the potential to do a lot of cool and interesting scenes, they can do it, in IMAX and 3D. You can fly all over the planet from inside the spaceship. You can have the point of view from inside of flying all over the planet. So this can be done in such a fun way, such a fun ride. So it can be improved so much more nowadays. So why not improve it? Story-wise, it can be done better. Acting-wise, make it funnier, they can make it less silly, they can make it less cringy with all the annoying stuff, they can remove all the annoying parts, and they can make it a much better movie. They can even fly to a different planet at some point. In a new movie, they can have the ability to do it nowadays much more easily than back then, so you don't even have to set it all on this planet. They can have, at least one scene of flying to some other planet and back, and so they can show us so much amazing stuff nowadays that they simply couldn't do before, and still keep all the fun elements, keep the core of the movie about, the kid discovering a spaceship and becoming its pilot and doing a lot of fun and stuff with it. So it has the potential to be a much better movie than this one, even though it's still a good movie. So don't get me wrong, I like this movie, but I think it can be done even better. Keep all the elements that were good in it and remove all the annoying parts, remove all the irrelevant stuff, the whole thing with, the test they did on the kid and hooking his brain to a computer. All of that stuff is boring and not really, it wasn't done that well, it didn't age well. All of that stuff can be trimmed out or shortened and add more fun stuff. Add more funny scene of the kid flying all over the planet and doing fun stuff with the spaceship. It has the potential to be a much better movie than this was. So that's why I'm actually for remaking it. Unlike my usual advice, don't remake classic movies because they're fine as it is, but the truth is this movie can be improved in a lot of ways. And technically they can even make it like a sequel. They don't have to erase this movie. They can make it like a sequel about the kid from this movie now being an adult and a father of his own kids, and now the spaceship comes back and then it's taking his kid for an adventure. And so they can actually do it in a way that is respectful to the original, and they don't have to erase the original. They can simply make it like a sequel and do it better this time. So that's what I would have done probably. The potential is there for an amazing movie that will be fun for the whole family and with modern special effects and modern abilities, they can make an amazing movie out of this idea. Of course, they have the potential of totally missing the point and totally focusing on the wrong things and making it horrible. Of course, there's that danger, but we'll always have the original. So worst case scenario, they'll do a crappy movie. At least the special effects will be fun. I'm sure I will enjoy the special effects of a new movie with this idea. You cannot possibly screw it up. How can you possibly not do that part of the movie well nowadays? If you simply have a bunch of scenes of someone sitting inside the spaceship flying around with good special effects, it will have to be entertaining. It will probably be fun, even if story-wise and character-wise they mess it up. So that's why I'm actually for making a remake of this movie, or a soft reboot, because the potential is there for something amazing, and with today's special effects it can be great, I think. So that's my honest opinion on it. I have a lot of respect for this movie. I remember it fondly. I loved it as a kid, and I still love a lot of parts in the movie, but I'm just saying it can be improved. And so that's my opinion. Let me know what you think, and we can discuss all of this in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.